Speedruns are notorious for their variety and length, with some runs lasting weeks and some not even being a second long. The thing about speedruns though is that they can also vary in how much leeway there is for mistakes, and as a world record progresses, this leeway slowly goes down. The run I'll be talking about today is Super Dangerous Dungeon's Grass Dungeon, the most popular category with more than 120 players, with the second largest not even breaking 30 players. Over the past 4.5 years, the world record has been lowered just shy of 20 seconds. But the fight to cut off those 20 seconds is perhaps one of the most intense I've covered on this channel. Buckle up, because we're going to get into the world record progression of Super Dangerous Dungeon's Grass Dungeon. The game was added to speedrun.com on September 25, 2016, though the first world record was set back in December 21, 2015 by a player named DS777 Fighter. The run was a solid 2 minutes 22.89 second run, which would set the bar high for future runs, though there were minor hiccups then and there. At the time, it was the only run on the leaderboard and one of the only 2 runs on the page, aside from a 30-minute full game run by Brams TV from January 2016. And for nearly a year and a half, that would remain the world record, mainly due to the fact that there were only 4 other runs submitted in this time frame, the closest new world record being a 2 minute 23 second run submitted by a player called Pink Pie. That would all change when a player named Solid Snake 702 would submit a 2 minute 22.67 run on May 26, 2017. The run wasn't recorded, however Solid Snake supplied a screenshot of his time on Twitter, which was enough at the time to have it verified by the mods. The previous world record stood for a year and a half, but Solid Snake's run would only last 2 days, as he would follow it up with a 2 minute 21.86 second run, once again not recorded but a screenshot of the time from the time trial screen. This run would then be followed by a 2 minute 19.47 second run the next day, once again not recorded. The record would last a while, and in the coming months the game would see more activity with future high-level players such as the Appleman and Leia Remy submitting runs. In fact, Leia Remy managed to get the world record in July, however it doesn't appear when looking at the statistics board for the game. Fast forward to August, and a player going by Karate Boy 02 had been playing the game. The thing about him was that his first personal best was a 2:20.46, being quite close to Solid Snake's time. After setting this time on August 14th, he would go back to playing the game, and on September 7th, 2017, he would achieve this run of a 2:14.69. Compared to the last official world record, this was an amazing 4.78 seconds of time saved, and compared to the last recorded world record, this was 8.2 seconds of saved time. Just how would Karate Boy save this time? In order to answer that question, we'll need to get into the cycles of Grass Dungeon. The Grass Dungeon consists of 11 levels, each lasting about 10 seconds, aside from the first and final level. Levels 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7 largely have stayed the same throughout the years, though there have been marginal changes in level 2 and 4 strategy. Levels 3 and 10 are largely separated from the others by their tight fast cycles, with level 3s being the first split between novice and top level runners. The big time saves to be found are in levels 6, 8, and 11. Level 11, being the longest level in the Grass Dungeon, has always had opportunities to lower time spent in it, but for a long time there weren't any set strategies. The main changes in movement was the use of shorter jumps, some different jumps due to the discovery that spikes had smaller hitboxes than they appeared, and the use of downwards acceleration by jumping more cleanly into pits. Before I get more into level 8, let me explain one of the mechanics of the speedrun, downwards acceleration. As you fall down, you accelerate at an increased speed. Originally ignored, it was discovered that it did in fact save time and was implemented in levels 8 and 11. Level 8 is the level with crumbling blocks. While the level has a fairly straightforward path, the use of downwards acceleration and a few precise and difficult jumps makes the level more complex for high-level runners. Finally, level 6 features a chase from a large saw to reach the door at the end, with several spears interrupting the path. However, the hitbox of the spears doesn't cover the entire sphere, but rather just the arrow at its top, allowing for players to avoid waiting for it to retract. Sphere-rise is also possible with the spears in level 9, but so far only 3 people have been able to pull it off in an individual level run, them being Fion, the Nameless, and Jyrule. After Karate Boy 02's run, the game started to pick up steam, with the rest of the dungeons, except for Ice Dungeon, finally getting their first runs from players such as the Appleman, Karate Boy 02, and Leka. So of all the hubbub, Karate Boy's run was bound to be broken, and it seemed that the Apple Man would be the one to do it. But on November 30th, a player known as Darklord27 would submit a 2:13.97 run, and then never log back into speedrun.com. This run would last nearly 3.5 months, during which time the game started to gain much more traction, with the number of runs nearly doubling. Once again, Laramie would beat the world record with a 2:11.86 on February 21st of 2018. This run would last a month before being inched out by the Appleman with a 2:11.83. This run would last only 2 weeks until it was blown out of the water by Laramie on March 25th with a 2:08.26, which has no footage aside from the video showing the actual time on the time trial screen. This run would last the rest of 2018. That was challenged by several high-level players such as the Appleman, Sumaho, Jai Rule, and Fion, all well-respected players in speedrunning. One of the main things keeping it afloat was the fact that it was the first world record, and one of the first runs in general to make use of the skip in level 3. However, behind the scenes, a new rule would pop up. Effective December 31st, 2018, all top 5 runs must have video attached or be rejected. This resulted in Laramie's run being void and being overtaken by Fion's 2:10.79 on December 31st, 2018. Increasing the record by a solid 2.5 seconds. Fion, however, considered one of the great mobile speedrunners, wasn't happy with having a world record that was higher than the previous one, so he went to work on lowering the world record, and on New Year's of 2019 he set a 2:07.69, beating his and Remy's personal best. This run would last until late May, where the community had finally expanded to the level it is today. On May 26, Fion would submit another run at 2:06.88. While his other run lasted 5 months in contention, this run would only last 5 days. Johnny Blood entered mobile speedrunning via the mobile version of There Is No Game and continued to play other games such as Color Switch, Mad Dex, and Boost Buddies, all of which he maintains world records in to this day, and all of which before he entered Super Dangerous Dungeons. He started off with a 2:06.65 on May 31st, inching out Fion to claim the world record. This run only lasted 3 days before he lowered it to a 2:06.02, which only lasted 3 days as well, before being finally topped off with a 2:05.93. After this, however, Gianni didn't submit a run to the leaderboard. Others did, but none of them broke the record, and it stayed that way for 11 months. Since DS Fighter's run, the first run of this game, there hadn't been such a gap between world records. And if you're not counting any time before the speedrun page was up, this is the longest time between records in the game's history. The road for Gianni to even get the first ever 2:05 was one that took hundreds of failed attempts, numerous moments where he considered quitting, and mastering several skips, new and old, and as such it would take a masterful player to take a crack at that record. And the players that had the best chances were Appleman, Fion, and Remy. On May 4th, Fion would break through and finally beat the world record by over half a second with a 2:05.28. With such a feat, surely it would be expected that this is where the world record would be standing today, but yet, the game still had places to improve. So after breaking one of the oldest world records in the game at that point, he would lower it by another half second to a 2:04.7, being the first and so far only person to achieve a sub of 2:05. Unbelievably, he still wasn't done and set a 2:04.08 run 4 days later, and then lowered that run by half a second 2 days later to make it a 2:03.58. In just 1 week, he had lowered the world record by over 4 seconds, when most thought that the game had finally reached its last time barrier. And that's where the record stood, until very recently, because on July 7th, Fion would submit a 2:02.97 run, being the first ever sub 2:03, and raising the question if we would ever see a sub 2-minute run, which is technically possible, but wildly difficult. Regardless, the community is active as ever, with dozens of people discussing their beloved game. Even if you're not intending to set any world records, this is a great time to join it. Finally, I guess, thanks for Laramie, Citrus, Fion. Thank you all for helping me out when making this video. I could have made it without you, as per usual. Yeah, this video was much faster than the Catbird one. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. See you next time.